It's not that old at all. So she's at a good age to where you can still teach her.
Yeah.
What have you done to teach her what come means?
You know, the only time 99% of the time, if we're at home, backyard, house, anywhere she's contained and I call her, she'll come.
Yeah.
It's when she bolts and she's out free. And again, the only thing really that has worked well, and there have been times when I've been able to secure her without a treat, but generally she'll follow me 2 blocks home. If I have just a little milk bone, she'll follow me 2 blocks home.
Okay.
You know, trying to grab at it, trying to grab at
it.
And I ended up giving it to her when I get her back home.
Okay. Okay. So that's kind of how you coax her, it sounds.
Yeah.
May I see your leash?
Sure. A lot of times.
Maggie. Good girl. Hey.
A lot of times, you know, I'll just get in the Jeep and I'll go pick her up.
Okay, so like if you showed up with the Jeep, she would get in?
A little more inclined, but not always. She'll still run a little bit.
Okay.
Eventually get in, even if I forgot to pick up a tree.
Okay.
She gets.
That's okay. Oh yeah. So have you spent much time teaching her? Good girl. Leash pressure?
She's not great on a leash, but yes.
Okay, yeah, because I did notice she was pulling you a bit when you walked in here. So she often pulls you on your walks?
On the way home when she gets tired,
she's
pretty good. But other than that, yes.
Okay. So first thing I want you to do is see how I'm putting good girl tension on the leash right here? So you want to start good girl, good girl. Yeah, you want to start teaching her that when she feels that tension, good girl, that it means to comply to it.
Okay.
Right? She's in the habit now of when she feels tension, she knows, oh, all I got to do is pull this direction, Dad will walk in this direction.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. So what we want to do is we want to get it to where she feels that tension, good girl, and she comes back towards you. So what you want to do is, in fact, not take her around the block, but instead focus on just doing this. Good girl, and you can feed her right afterwards.
In the backyard, in the house?
Backyard, front yard. The reason why we don't walk around the block is because it's just too soon for her.
Yeah.
A lot of times people get their dog and they go, I just want to take them for a walk, but then they don't spend time actually teaching their dog how to walk on the leash. Then they get out and there's so much going on, they get excited. They want to see this, they want to see that. They start pulling on it and you're here to walk. You're like, I'm trying to walk. So then you just start walking. And the dog over time goes, oh, all I have to do is pull on them and they'll walk me wherever I want.
Okay.
So you've been teaching her to pull you around the block.
Yeah.
And when you do that, it makes it really hard for them to come to you because they just think you're going to follow them. Okay. She gets off the lead. She's not thinking, oh, I'm going to come back to Dad. She's thinking, Dad will just follow me. Yeah. He always follows me anyways.
Yeah. Well,
right?
She loves walking on people's lawns, eating their grass. She'll drag me to a fire hydrant. She'll drag me to a stop sign.
Okay.
She can stop.
Yeah. So you'll have to get into the habit of when she starts to pull, you have to become a pull. You got to stop moving.
Okay.
Right? Because if you walk forward, that is rewarding her. Yeah. You're telling her, hey, all you got to do is pull. So you got to do is the minute she starts pulling, good girl, is stop what you're doing, hold that tension. And by that I mean like this, hold the tension, good girl, and the minute she comes back towards you, you can reward. You don't have to reward with treats, but she loves treats, so you can use treats. You can say good girl, right? All you're doing is you're teaching her that, hey, when you feel tension, I want you to follow that tension. See, she's just like, let's go that way.
Yeah.
So I'm standing, good girl, I'm standing my ground until she complies to that pressure.
Makes sense.
So this is the first step that you're gonna do to get her, good girl, to do this kind of stuff. Yeah. Good girl, right? Because you want her to just to walk next to you.
Yeah.
Good girl, there you go.
We walk quite a bit.
Okay, but you've been walking her the wrong way.
Yeah.
So we gotta change things around. That way she'll actually come to you. So you're looking for this kind of, see how she's checking in on me?
Yes.
Good girl. So that's what you're looking for. Yes. Good girl.
You know, it's amazing for us. I put the collar on her, put her on her leash. She immediately turns, walks behind me. And then we go. We get out through the garage, out the driveway, and then it's boom.
Okay.
And every once in a while, she'll look back at me, come back and look at, and I good girl. I don't treat her like with that.
Yeah.
I do say reinforce, good girl, good girl.
Okay. So what you'll want to start doing is, since she's already doing pretty good until you pass the garage, that's going to be what we call the threshold. The minute you pass that, it's too far for her, it's too hard for her, right? So what you're going to do is the minute she gets to that point where she's like, oh, I'm going to pull forward, you're going to then stop. And you're going to just start becoming unpredictable. Good girl. Because she's just she knows, oh, we're going for a walk. And dad lets me pull me around the block. So she hits that threshold and she goes, oh, this is where I go, this is where I pull.
Okay.
So what you're doing is you're reteaching her that, hey, we're going to do something over here. We're going to walk this way. So then way she starts to go, where's dad going?
Yeah.
Not, hey, dad, let's go.
Okay.
Right? Good girl.
Make her guess a little bit.
Good girl. Exactly. Good girl.
Generally walk the same direction.
Good.
We go to Starbucks.
Yeah, well, now I know. So we can switch things up for her. And now that you know this, I want you then to start using this leash pressure to teach her come. So what you'll do, good girl, is you'll just do that, right? This is the exercise you're gonna do to teach her to come to you. So pressure, good girl, bring her into you, good girl. Right? We just want her to do that easily, right? Because we don't want to say a word like come and then spend 5 minutes trying to get her to come to us.
I say heel a lot and drag her back.
Okay.
But then, 2 steps later, heel, and I'd have to drag her back.
And sometimes that's what you got to do. The problem with, how you explained it is you're then continuing the walk.
We are.
So then she's just getting confused. You know what I mean? Because she is getting rewarded for pulling you, she's just going, I don't know what you want. You always let me pull you. So you're dragging her back and she's just going, well, you're yanking on me, you're pulling on me, this is tension, this is what you want, I'll just keep pulling, right? The only time you want to walk forward, good girl, is when there's no tension. That way she learns, good girl, that she gets what she wants, which is walking, going forward, when she gives you what you want, no tension, right?
Win-win.
Exactly. Good girl. So then you're going to start doing some exercises just like this. We call them this, we're walking backwards and she's following us. That's really all we're doing, right? So put a pressure, good girl. And you can do this without the leash as well if she's really treat motivated. But I want you to use the leash because I want her to get in the habit, good girl, of doing that. Turning around for you. Good girl. So once it's easy for you to do that, good girl, get her to come to you, then you can start implementing the word come, or whatever words you'd like, right? My dogs, I use to me, and that means for them to come to me, right? Good girl. So all you're doing is you're getting her to where she goes the habit of every time he says the word come, he then does this. Good girl. Yes, pulls him right in front of me. Right? We do this repetition. Come. Yes. Good girl. Over time, she's just going to go, oh, when he says that word come, he wants me to walk up to him, sit in front of him, and he's going to give me food. And she's going to love that idea.
Yeah, there isn't anything she wouldn't do for food.
There you go. Good girl. Very good girl. So what I want you to do is just do this. You're going to walk forward. She's going to pull on you. That's how she is. You're going to stop just like I was doing. Good girl. And you're going to hold the pressure until she complies. And it's really important that when she complies, good girl, we release that tension.
Okay. I noticed that you kind of take up the slack as she's coming towards you a little bit.
When we're doing the call command, yes.
Okay.
So right here, when we say come, we're going to bring up the slack a little bit. And then we're going to lift up on the leash. That way she sits down. Yes. So this is the sit front position. So this is what we would consider our come command, is for them to come in front of you and sit down. Break. Good girl. So when I'm kind of pulling her in, I'm shortening up the lead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Good girl. See, now she's already doing it on her own. Very smart dog.
There's 3 things she knows. Sit, down, and she can give Dad a kiss.
Oh, you got kisses. Good girl. So this will help when she tries to bolt. You'll actually be able to give her a word that she knows. Hey, that means I got to come to Dad.
Okay.
Right? Because right now she doesn't know she has to come to you.
Okay.
right? Because if she did, she would when the door went open, right? So good girl, break. Once you get her to where she can do this easily, that's when you'll start practicing with the door open. There's a lot of different exercises you can do. So for instance, right here, we can do an exercise you can do with your door, right? Because when you come to your gateway or your doorway, you're gonna then have to walk up to it, open the door, and see if she bolts out. Because she's gonna want to bolt out in the beginning.
Leave her on a leash in case she does?
100%, 100%. In the beginning, you have to leave her on a leash because if you don't leave her on the leash, she's gonna be taken off. And we don't want that. We want her to go, oh, the door's open, I can't go through the door, right? Right now, she sees the door open and she goes, oh, that's my opportunity, right? My chance. We don't want that, right? Good girl, good girl. Let's see here. All right, come on. Good girl. So what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna open the door and kind of show you. Good girl, good girl. Yeah, you eating some grass. You like everything. So you can start practicing no, stepping outside of your door, and then one no, and then you're gonna lead her back into the house, right? That way she gets, yeah, I know. That way she gets into the habit of, oh, just because the door is open, just because dad's walking outside the door, no, doesn't mean I can walk outside the door. Good girl. Eventually she will, yes, not walk past. So that time she walked up and she stopped.
She did, yeah.
So I rewarded her. Good girl. Very good girl. Good job, girl. So go ahead and I'd like you to walk through and see if she tries to follow you this time. Look at her. Tell her, good girl.
Good girl, man.
Now walk back over and reward her.
Good
Very
girl.
good job.
Good
So that's what you're looking for. And see how quickly she picked that up?
Yeah.
I mean, that just, if you communicate with her right, she's gonna pick things up really, really fast. Good girl. Now, of course, I wouldn't trust her off leash yet.
Right.
But that's the potential.
She's gonna have to show me 100 times before I trust her.
Oh yeah, and what you can do is you can even do little practices where you put the leash down, a long lead, then she goes for it, you can step on it, things like that, you know, because they're smart and they understand when you're holding the leash compared to when you're not holding the leash. You know what I mean? They understand when they're on the leash and they're not on the leash, right? So see right here, she started to walk too far, see the tension? So this is something you've got to get in the habit of doing, even, good girl, even when you're having a conversation with someone, right? You got to feel the leash and you're communicating to her through the leash, right? So this whole time I'm communicating to her as I communicate to you.
Right.
So she starts to pull on me and all I did was, oh, nope, I'm going to stop now.
Okay.
She felt it and went, oh, this guy is not letting me pull him. The minute she realized that, good girl, yeah, she stops pulling me. That's why typically if you hand your dog to a trainer or someone that just knows what they're doing, they will have your dog walking well within a couple minutes. Because the dog knows you as someone that lets him pull. She doesn't know me as someone that lets her pull.
Makes sense.
So she meets me the first time and she goes, he's not letting me do this. So right away she goes, he's very consistent, right? Since she hasn't met me before, I haven't had a chance to mess up.
Right.
You know, every single time she's pulled me, I've stopped. So I've been really consistent to her. Even though I've only known her for a couple minutes, I've been consistent every single time. Right here, same thing. Started to pull a little bit, good girl. I just let her know, hey, you're at the end of the lead. And I even took a small step back, so a little bit more tension. The minute she complied, I said, good girl, right? Because I want her to know when she's doing good. Right? And so that is very important. Same like here. Good girl. You got to make sure to reward when she does start to comply. Right? And then you have to release that tension. So that way she realizes, oh, they're looking for no tension. Good girl. Good girl. Very good girl. So do you feel like you're ready to start with her?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Now, Gail hates it when I give her treats.
Why?
Because, you know, they're little 1-inch long milk bone.
Okay, yeah, I know those things.
Gluten-free, you know?
Yeah.
Well, you know, Maggie she's probably still overweight,
Okay, so she's mad that you're overfeeding her.
Well, I mean, I don't give her many. I don't.
So here's what I do. So take whatever amount of food she's gonna eat to the day, put that in her bowl, and use that as your rewards.
Okay.
Right? So this right here is just dog kibble.
Yeah.
And she's like, yo, give me that.
She's birdseed.
So you don't need to give her a bunch of milk bones. And if you do give her a handful of milk bones, take a handful of kibble away.
Okay.
Right? So you're making sure that every day, this is how much food she's got to eat.